What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, the D here, aka the God of the New World, aka I don't know, the guy who always has something, but it never seems to matriculate or materialize or whatever. But anyway, we're back. It's Sunday. You know what time it is. We're gonna do a little bit of discussing about this week's One Piece chapter. Last chapter, yet again, I'm just completely sure that Eiichiro Oda does not know how dinosaurs work, because ain't no way in hell a pteranodon can do that with its face, actually. But before I get into it, YouTuber shit, thank you for watching the video. If you like what you hear, make sure to like, comment, because I love interaction, and apparently YouTube does too, and subscribe so you'll be notified of when I post other videos. And make sure that bell's clicked, because apparently YouTube hates fucking creators for whatever reason. But without further ado, you know why you're here, you know why I'm here, so let's go ahead and get right into it. One Piece, Chapter 1033, Shimotsuki Kozaburo. Alright, so the last chapter picks up where Zoro and Zoro and King's battle take place. So we're right outside the dome where their battle's taking place, where Enma has started to take Zoro's haki. As we can see from his arm, starts to become emaciated. But Zoro quickly, is able to find his footing, saying, to asking Enma, like, who gave you permission to unleash your power? So his arm goes back to normal muscular way Zoro's arms are, because that motherfucker does not skip arm day, chest day, leg day, or any other day of the week. So King notices, he's like, so what's wrong? Having an argument, as he rushes towards Zoro. Now, he rushes him, stops, and then as soon as Zoro, he's caught off guard, he's like, okay, now what do you think you're doing? He goes to stab King in the stomach, and King doubles over, but I don't think he's hurt, because as soon as Zoro's blade makes contact, he's like, jackpot, and then explodes. So then we cut back to the pleasure hall, the left brain tower of the Skull Dome, to where Queen and Sanji are still facing off, with Queen laughing his all-natural brachiosaur snake modified thing ass off. And yet again, this takes place right after Sanji made his call a couple of chapters ago about Zoro needing to kill him if he's changed too much. So then Queen's like, okay, so that was Pirate Hunter on the snail just now, wasn't it? And he was like, trust me, he's not gonna beat King. So Sanji's grimacing and still silent. So Queen then goes on to expound. That guy's a remnant of the extinct Lunarians. And he then goes on to say that Lunarians are creatures who are capable of surviving in any natural environment. He then, yet again, goes on to this little explanation saying that in the distant past, the Lunarians were known as gods. So then Sanji's like, wait a minute. If they were all that in a bag of chips like you cracked them up to be, why did they die? So Queen, which I don't know if it's just because he didn't want to tell him, or he may not even know. He says, oh, you want to know that? Before firing off a beam from his mouth, go ask a history book. We then cut back and see Zoro's been blown back a few feet and into a rock. Yet again, he's still huffing and puffing. He was like, okay, that could have got dicey. I'd be dead if I hadn't put up his armament. So yet again, Zoro can use armament, and apparently not just with the swords, he can use the full body, but never go full body. Except in this situation, because normally that ends horribly. So Zoro's then he's getting his sword, he's like, okay, how the fuck is this guy alive? He blew himself up, literally. And then it's really important in the panel, it looks like King is grayed out when Zoro's still on the ground. But then when in the next panel, we see King is back in full black. Like I don't know if that's just, I don't know if it's because Oda's trying to, accentuate or, articulate the distance between them, or if King being grayed out in that one panel means something. But anyway, so Zoro goes on to attack. He's like, okay, maybe he just caught me before I could really do some damage. One sword style, EI, Death Lion Song. To which he cuts King straight, and King's eyes go white. And Zoro, like, after he cuts him, like, it looks like he cut King straight down the middle of his body. And, you know, Zoro, it looks like he's about to, like, sigh with relief, but then he catches it, and he sees that King transformed into a pterodon and has pulled back his head. And Zoro's like, he's not phased? Like, he took that hit. Like, it's looking like it's not like a Logia power. It's rather he's being hit. It's just not hurting him. So then King yet again grabs the crest on his head and starts to recite his attack, Imperial. And so he even goes on to say, like, okay, because when he stabbed him, that was just a regular stab. He's like, okay, I used an actual technique, which was way stronger than the last one. And as Zoro's pulling out his other swords, you know, pulling back out Enma, and then Sandai, you know, Enma starts flaring up and trying to steal his haki again, with his arms becoming emaciated. And then King, yet again, doesn't give a fuck. Deep pride. And Zoro's like, fuck, come on, Enma, not now, stake. And it looks like this one hits on his right side, grazing him. He wasn't ran through, but that shit hit him. And yet again, blowing part of the cliff off. So King is yet again in his pterodon form. Looks like he may even be flying where he's standing there. He's like a swordsman held back by his own sword. That's a new one. So as Zoro's falling, he notices that his sword, Sandai Katetsu, is actually falling, but he goes to grab it. And then this triggers the first of many flashbacks. So then we flash back to him talking to old man Katetsu in the Tengu mask. He's like, so you already wield the Sandai Katetsu. That's one of my blades, actually. And so Zoro's like, huh? For real? So then he goes on, and we cut to another flashback. We cut back to Logtown when Zoro's getting the Sandai in the first place. He says, this sword's bewitched? Because remember, the shopkeep had the sword in a bin of throwaways just because he didn't want to get rid of it. But at the same token of time, he's like, bruh, don't take that one. So then the shopkeep is like, are you a fool? I can't sell you that sword. If you died, it'd be like I killed you myself. Yet again, then Zoro does a little test where it doesn't cut him. And then he's like, I'll take it. So then yet again, I guess it looks like King may have flown down to save him in a roundabout way. He flies down, kicks him with a flaming kick. It's like, you're not serious. You're gonna die for just to save your sword? So then Zoro lands and he's looking up. Yet again, he's still trying to wrap his head around this whole thing. And he's like, that felt hot. So then as he's getting up, he's in pain. And then he's like, oh good, you didn't fall off, Wado Ichimonji. Which, yet again, we see in our flashback triggered by this sword. And it's back to after Kuina died, when Zoro was begging Kozaburo, his sword master, to give him the sword so he can continue her dream. So he then goes on to say, you know, Kid Zoro's like, I'll keep the promise for both of us. I'm gonna become such a great master swordsman that my name will even be known in the heavens. Yet again, now we go to another flashback. It must be some twist of fate. You see, that white blade, Wado Ichimonji, and the Enma that you've just been bequeathed were both crafted by the same man, the legendary blacksmith, Shimotsuki Kozaburo. And then Zoro, looking on, and it's like he has this aha moment on his face. He's like, okay, I wasn't putting it together before, but why would there be a famous katana of Wano in some tiny village in the East Blue? Like, this is a Owazumono grade sword forged in Wano. It shouldn't be there. And it's here where Zoro's finally starting, like, look, I know when it comes to Zoro, we all think the hamster's dead because the motherfucker ain't got a bit of direction in it. But that hamster is working, and that motherfucker starts going. And then we flash to the next panel where it's then that we get another one of King's name techniques: Imperial, slings, and arrows. And King, as he's attacking, like, look, man, do you have all three of your swords yet? And Zoro's yelling out Enma and using it to block some of King's attacks. And then, as Zoro is yet again falling again, it looks like King knocked him inside. And we then cut to another flashback, this time of Momonosuke. And then he says, Zolo Juro, I was told not to say Sunachi, or snatch as it was originally translated. And then Zoro goes on to explain in the flashback. It's just something the old guy in my village told me. I've never said it myself before. And to which Momonosuke is surprised. And then we found out we go to another flashback. This whole thing is a bunch of flashbacks. The old man was always sitting there at the coast. I never knew his name. It wasn't until the day he died that I learned he was Kuina's grandpa. And then, like, look, man, this is fucking flashbackception. Flashbacks inside the flashbacks with flashbacks on top of them. The blacksmith, Shimotsuki Kozaburo, he broke the laws and left this land over 50 years ago. And as Zoro lay with his eyes closed, he goes to the final flashback, which I think it's the final flashback. I don't fucking know. We flash back to 13 years ago in the East Blue, Zoro's hometown, Frost Moon Village, Shimotsuki. So it's here we see a bunch of kids in the dojo, training, and even what I think is Zoro going against Kuina. And then we see an old man sitting over there by himself. He says, yes, Sunachi. It is a magic word that summons strength into your heart. So then little Zoro, who's standing behind the old man who's sitting on a cliff, he's like, well, that sounds weird. I don't need it. Anyway, old man, is it true you used to be a samurai? And he's like, everybody at the dojo was saying it. And it's then the old man says, well, hush up about it or the Navy will come and invade the village. He's like, why? The Navy? He's like, and the old man rebuts, none of your business. That's why. Get lost. He's like, and Zoro's like, she's fine, you stubborn old fart. And licks his tongue out at him and goes back to training with the two swords. And the old man watching, observing the young man quite intently. And then as the old man is laying, drinking, and fishing, still watching Zoro practice, he's like, is the dojo boring to you? And then that's when Zoro says, I lost to Kuina again. I need more practice to become stronger. And then it's at that point that the old man lays down two full-fledged katanas over there by Zolo. He's like, what? But I can't pay for these. The old man rebuts, I'm giving them to you. Trust me, they're crap. And he says, they're the only things I can make these days. Use them for practice if you want. The old man then goes on to say, listen closely. A sword's like a kitchen knife, but for murder. They're created to kill people. And a blacksmith hones his craft so that his weapons are better at killing than any other. And Zoro, holding one of the swords, like, ugh. The old man goes on to state, a sword has its own personality. A sword master must master it and bend it to his will. You think a dangerous sword is cursed? No, that's a sign of great quality. When the weak fear a sword and call it cursed, that's a badge of honor. He says, holding the sword, well, his sword, because there are three, but he gave two to Zoro. He holds it out towards the ocean. And as Zoro's, trembling, because he is small, and he's wielding two full-size swords. And the old man's still speaking to him. They should be frightening. They're meant to cause terrible harm. And he even goes on to say, there was one blade I crafted when I was a young man. It was the greatest weapon I ever made. Its disposition was deadly serious. Just holding it in your hand sent a shiver down the spine. So I gave that masterpiece the name of the king who watches over hell. And then Zoro's eye snaps open. The king of the as he's looking at the sword that's, stuck in the ground. Enma, the king of the underworld. So it's right here while Zoro's laying flat on his back that everything's starting to connect. My village is named for Shimotsuki. Was it not a coincidence after all? So then we see a bunch of kids, sitting and talking. Did you know our village was built by pirates? That's what my grandma said. And then we go over to Old Man Katetsu. The blacksmith, Shimotsuki Kozaburo, he broke the laws and left this land over 50 years ago. So the old man was a samurai of Wano. The blacksmith, Shimotsuki Kozaburo. A great blade can see into you. It chooses only the swordsman who best suits it. And then we go back over to the shopkeep from Logtown. A sword chooses its wielder. And then Zoro, as he's getting up, yet again, he's not even touching the sword, but his arm is still emaciated. It came to me. It chose me. So it could test me. So Zoro grabs the sword and his arm gets back muscular. And King finally comes in and lands in front of him. And Zoro then goes on to state, a sword is honest and direct, not wicked. Yes, it's true. It was my strength that was lacking. Does that mean, even with so much haki being drained away, Odin wielded you as though you were light as a feather, Enma? So then we see a bunch of beasts come to attack Zoro. It's like, look, it's a pirate hunter. And there's King. Let's take him out, sir. And one of the beasts is like, okay, hey, I could really use a promotion. So then Zoro, yet again, his arm isn't even filled with haki anymore. It's normal, but Enma is still oozing power. And he's like, okay, how should I stabilize my haki then? If I have to keep exuding it at this level, it'll kill me. But then all of the beasts who are coming to attack him start foaming at the mouth and pass out. But no, that's perfect. So King takes notice and is like, oh, I see. So you intend to be a king then? And all three of Zoro's swords start exhibiting a similar power. Not a steam, a steam, not a flame, but a steam comes from all three of them, as well as what looks like the lightning that comes off of haki. And then another flashback of when Luffy and Zoro first met. The world's greatest swordsman? That's great and it's fitting. Since your new boss is gonna be the king of the pirates, anything else would make me look bad. And Zoro, with a smile on his face and Wado in his mouth. That's right, I've got a promise to keep to my captain and my best friend. Chapter in, next chapter comes in 7 days. Not gonna lie, very good chapter, very good. So what we kind of all figured came to pass. Kozaburo was the old man who taught Zoro to say snatch, and Zoro is descended of the Shimotsuki village. So pretty much that village was founded by a bunch of runaways from Wano. And funny enough, that was Kuina's grandfather. So some people said, well, it makes sense because I think Kuina's father is called Gozaburo. Not Kozaburo, Gozaburo. I think. I'm not looking it up right now, but he has a similar name. So yes. So they have similar names. So she's descended of the swordsmiths, while Zoro himself is most likely descended of Ryuma. Because yet again, a few chapters ago, they all was like, oh, he looks just like he looks just like Ryuma. Oh, he's a one-eyed swordsman, just like the previous Shimotsuki daimyo, the Ringo. Because the Shimotsukis, their family ran the Ringo region, I believe that was the snowy one. And the previous daimyo looked just like him, looked just like Zoro. And yet again, him and Ryuma were both one-eyed swordsmen. So it's like, okay, Zoro's parentage lies in Wano. So pretty much these two arcs are kind of, Whole Cake Island kind of explains Sanji's parentage, and Wano, we're getting Zoro's. Not his direct parents, mind you, but his heritage. So Zoro is descended from the samurai of Wano, while Sanji is descended from the assassin kings of the Germa. But yes, lot of good flashbacks, a lot of good callbacks, and Zoro using haki. Now, I saw somebody on Twitter saying that Zoro may not be a king because Conqueror's haki has always been stated to be something you have to be born with. It's 1 in a million. Somebody was saying that, hey, maybe Zoro just willed himself to have it. No, I think Zoro's always had it. I think that's more coincidental. It's just that for some reason, people with Conqueror's haki have a tendency to gravitate towards being the best at something. Roger wanted to be the most free. Luffy wanted to be king of the pirates. It just happens. So, yeah, I don't think it's a will thing. I think it's a birth thing that just happens to affect the will. But yes, so I hope we don't cut back from this. Because I know we're cutting back and forth between Sanji and Zoro and then all the other shit, but I kind of want us to go ahead and get their fights finished. Like I said, I'm more in, like, of course, this is a dope ass fight, don't get me wrong. I'm kind of more interested to learn, because my thing is, I love info dumps. One Piece has some of the best info dumps ever. I want to know what King is, especially with what Queen said today about King's heritage. It's like, okay, if y'all could survive in any environment, and it looks like we know a little bit more about King's abilities, which I'm gonna touch on in a second, but if y'all could survive anywhere, what the fuck happened? How is King the last remaining remnant if y'all motherfuckers were so damn strong and revered as gods? So that's one thing. 2, combustion abilities. So yeah, last chapter, Zoro and King were kind of having like a casual conversation about his powers. Like, okay, so you can do this, but you can't do that. That's not part of your Pterodon powers, but which I thought it was. And it's like this whole thing. So King's people have the ability to control fire, not just like manipulation, because he throws flaming punches and kicks and probably slashes as well, but also he can combust himself. He can like explode and not kill himself, and obviously not damage his clothes. So, and some people are like, oh man, it's weird. Like, no, it's not. It's not really, because the minks can control lightning, or at least emit it. Like they can coat their attacks and everything in lightning. You know, the electro. And hell, that's not even the first time we've seen something like that. The fishmen, they like their people, like shit. I can't remember the name of the attack. It was some like undercurrent shoulder throw. It was when they were escaping Impel Down, and Jinbei used an attack to kind of like damn near water bend, and even if away from that, his arabesque fist, which kind of like moves water within things, like hell. So the minks had electro, the fishmen can water bend. Even going back to Miss, I think it was Golden Week, one of the Baroque Works agents, she could hypnotize people. That wasn't a devil fruit. So it's looking like some races have the ability to control like elements and stuff, and even certain humans have like certain abilities beyond just, you know, what they can be granted by devil fruit. So it's interesting. So it's like, okay, so there's a third race, that can do shit like that. And see, I knew we could do shit. I knew they could do shit like, okay, King Wildfire, you know, we've seen what his powers can do. We've seen the flame on his back. But for him to be able to explode, it's like, okay, I don't think the minks can explode in lightning, or the fucking fishmen can like turn themselves into water. So that's weird. But yes, so things are heating up, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. Still interested, like I said, I'm interested in the fight because this guy's going to be dope, especially now that Zoro's really coming into his Conqueror's haki. But I want to know what the fuck about King's people. That's gonna be interesting. But yet again, that's gonna be this new chapter. Like I said, we got another chapter coming next week. If you like what you heard, definitely hit like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you thought about the chapter, or is there anything that I missed? And it's also cool to see like Zoro finally put the pieces together. Like, oh shit, my village was founded by the Shimotsuki clan. I might be from here. But anyway, this has been your boy the D, signing out. See ya. Bye.